All right, we are here with another episode on international real estate, and today we're going to be talking about how not to get screwed over by a Mexican real estate developer. I'm joined with Dave Costa. Now, I'm obviously in Cabo. Dave is in Playa del Carmen and Tulum area, and between the two of us, we're working in the two hottest markets for pre-construction. So we're going to go over a lot of things about how nightmare situations or how to protect yourself with pre-construction contracts, all this. Dave, how are you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me today, Fletcher. I appreciate it.
Cool. Well, if you want to get into it, Dave, I know we had prepared a bunch of stuff. So, what are some of the things that you would just really right off the bat when you're dealing with pre-construction in Mexico with these developers?
Yeah, well, first thing is not all developers are created equal. So you have to understand who you're working with. And each individual project could be run differently. So one developer might be amazing in 99% of their projects, and they do something a little bit differently. They have a partnership, and that could change things a little bit. So the big takeaway is hire an experienced real estate agent that knows what they're doing and knows what questions to ask, and also use a reputable real estate attorney to help you, to make sure they educate you on all the nuances and details so that you understand the potential risks that are involved. There's definitely more risk involved with pre-sale than with resale, but if you're smart and you can mitigate those risks, pre-sale can be a great investment. So, I mean, the main goal is just to make sure people are educated and understand what to expect, because a lot of things can happen with construction. It's a very complicated process, and it's not just, okay, I'll give you the money and you build it. There's a lot of things that are involved in it. So you need to vet every project, not just the developer. But what would you say?
I mean, I always tell people too, one of the reasons that I like pre-construction, Dave, is that you get the developer's discount. So when you buy into these projects correctly, you're going to get that instant equity appreciation upon delivery. And then it's a brand new unit. There's obviously risk that comes with that. But when you vet the developer, when you vet the project, when you know what you're doing, that helps mitigate a lot of that risk, right? One of the questions I have, Dave, is we mentioned this on another recording. How is a developer paying for this? What are some of the red flags you see with the way developers are structuring deals?
I think, well, before you get to that, you need to understand, like, does the developer own this land that they're building on? Because sometimes there's joint ventures. You could have a landowner that puts up the land and the developer, maybe they have a construction company and then they're going to build and they're going to work on a project together. Or you could have a developer that doesn't even have its own construction company and they're hiring a construction company working with a partnership. Things can get really challenging and things can get ugly quick in those type of situations. So, how are they organized? You need to find that out. You need to know, how are they working on this? Is it private contract between a landowner and a developer? Is there a corporation, new business entity? Is there a bank trust that they're using? Are they using bridge loans to fund the property? So getting into the funding part, how are they funded? And how do you know they have money? I mean, they're not going to send you their bank statements and show you, like exactly what they have. You're not like their underwriter or whatever, right? But you can ask them, how are you financing this and how are you doing this? And you can kind of use the power of deduction to know, like, if a developer is offering huge discounts and with high down payments, that could be a red flag, because that could mean that they don't have the money and they need your money to build the project. So don't be don't get too carried away or lured by big discounts. Yes, pre-sale can be great, and usually the prices go up by 30 to 40% from the very first price list to when it's completed. But I've seen some things where they're offering 15%, 20% crazy discounts, but with really high down payments. And like, why are you going to tie up 80% of your money, on a deal to get 5% more discount? And then if you're not aware of, like, here, we don't have an MLS in our market. So how do you know if that discount is really a discount, or they're just not overinflating the price and then telling you, oh yeah, we're going to give you 15% off, and then that 15% off is like what it really should cost anyways. Like, if you don't have an agent that has a good knowledge of the inventory, it's difficult for you to know if that discount is even really a good discount. You might just be paying the normal rate and then giving them all your money up front. And that's, I always tell people, put a minimal amount of money down. Like, if the developer does 30% down and 70% at delivery, if they offer that payment structure, then the chances are they have the money to build the project, or they don't need to rely on new sales to fund the construction. So, some of these developers are sort of new to the game, and they're like, yeah, they do great marketing and everything looks wonderful. But if they don't have the money to back it up, there's a lot more risk involved. Things could go ugly and they could lose money. They could get embezzled from by construction companies. If they don't have their own construction company, they could end up overpaying for a lot of things. They can run out of money in the middle of a project, So big developers with deep pockets, they'll even use bridge loans because they don't want to use their money, tie up all their money, because they might have multiple projects in different parts of the country. But if they qualify for a loan and they're using a bank loan, that's much more secure than a developer that's relying on your money or new investor money to fund a project, right?
Yeah, because in a rising market, you're not going to have any issue with that. But when it comes to more challenging times and sales slow down, that's where you see those projects get into a little jam, and that's not a place you want to be,
Yeah,
right?
we
Because
already
like, you're starting to get into, like, the best case scenario is a delay.
So in the Riviera Maya, and we're in the Mayan area, right? We're famous for ruins like Chichen Itza, Coba, Tulum. We already have enough ruins here. We don't need any more ruins from these construction companies that can't finish their projects. It's a big eyesore. Once in a while, you'll drive around and you'll see something that, I wonder what happened there. And a multitude of things could happen. Sometimes people build on land that's not even titled. I mean, crazy stuff like that. They can be title issues. It could be ejido land and they think they have title and they don't. So there's all sorts of potential problems
Yeah,
that could happen. Unless you're dealing with an experienced company, you're putting a lot of, you're putting your money at risk.
that's another reason why it's always important to have a solid closing attorney too that can review that paperwork as well. One thing you mentioned about the contracts or the down payment, you said like maybe 30. Here it's very common, 35% down, and then you can have that 65% at delivery. Sometimes they'll have you pay during construction, right? And it's always much safer to have milestones, like first floor on, second floor, obra negra when the building is complete, then delivery. Because if you get into these dates and they haven't started, then you're making these payments and they're like, well, we haven't breached contract yet. And it's like, well, there's no way you're going to deliver on time, but technically they're correct. You have a payment to make on this date. It's much safer to have a contract with milestones if you're paying during construction.
Yeah, it's safer. Not only that, but like, if you have your money tied up, you could be making money with that money invested in something else. And why should it be in the developer's hands? There's projects where they'd say that's going to be a 2.5 year delivery. And then, things happen. Like in the pandemic, there was supply chain issues and workers, they had to shut down construction sites because of COVID. And so now a 2.5 year project is taking 5 years 3.5, 4, 5 years to finish. And so you as an investor, you've tied up 50% or 80% of your money so you could get a nice discount. It makes sense if you figure out the annual rate of return, like, okay, and you know it's going to get built in 2 years and you can guarantee it, or I'm saving 10%. That's 5% annual rate of return that I'm making on my money, so to speak. But then what happens when it takes instead of 2 years and it takes 5 years? So your ROI just shrank like by like more than half. So that discount, if you're a savvy investor, you can look at what you have your money already invested in. And if that money is invested in something safe and it's getting you a decent return, you're better off leaving it invested and keeping it invested instead of giving it over to the developer who could potentially have a delay. Or worst case scenario, they don't build at all, right? Like they run out of money and then your money's gone. That doesn't happen as often, but it does happen. More commonly, it's a delay in delivery. You know what I mean? Like the developers automatically have 6 months built in as grace period in their contract.
Yeah, I mean, you can protect yourself, like you said, by not having. I would never advise somebody to put 80% down. Now, I've seen situations where the developer will say, like, hey, if you put down 30%, if you put down another 30% and it's at Obra Negra, we'll include like a rooftop. I've seen them do something like that and the site's like buzzing, But if you're starting to put more than 30% down and it's still dirt, or sorry, 35% down and it's still dirt and they're not going and there's another payment to be made, that's where, you really can get yourself in a jiffy. And another thing, Dave, is we are marketing a new project here. And just by having that project, agents reach out and we're like, hey, they're asking the same questions, right? And this particular agent reached out. This project's done by a pretty reputable developer too. But she's like, hey, I got clients in and, we're a year later and they haven't started yet. And it came out that this particular developer did not get one of the larger permits to do it, and it just kind of understood, since we're a big show in town, we're going to get this permit and we're going to start. And the agent obviously was like, now it's starting to make me look bad. But permits are a huge thing when it comes to projects. So making sure that the new developments have all their permits in line, correct?
Yeah, I mean, it happens down here all the time. So developers and big developers, reputable developers, they've been in business for a long time, sometimes do this. Well, they'll start selling a project before they have all the permits. So you have construction license, you have environmental permits. There's different documentation you need to get started on a project. And I get it why they want to do it. Like get the buzz going, start making some sales. But it's like, to me, I don't really like to get involved with those projects until they have the permits, because I don't want the client to be waiting 5 years for something to get built, in case there's some delay or whatever. And, they're excited about it. And yeah, we're going to build this in 2 years. It's going to be all good. And then for whatever reason, they can't get everything in time. Like the environmental one is one that sometimes can take a longer time. And so to me, it's kind of irresponsible as a developer. I wouldn't do that myself. I would, wait until I have everything in order and then sell the project. But, whatever. They think they're big shots. They can do whatever they want. This is Mexico. But there's that's their reputation on the line. It's the real estate agent's reputation on the line as well. So if you don't know and you don't educate your buyer about that situation, then they're going to turn back and look at, why'd you let me invest in this?
Yeah. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on this? Cabo's, I mean, it's hot, so you have a lot of people coming to Cabo, developers to build, and they might have a track record elsewhere in Mexico, but this is their first project here. And it is a complete, it'd almost be like going from California to Florida or California to New York. It's just you're gonna have different regulations. You're gonna have people that are more sensitive to certain issues. You're right, like the local population. Like here, it's a big thing about infrastructure too. Permits, it's not the same thing, right? It is the same, but it's different. What are your thoughts about an experienced developer coming into a new area? It's not necessarily a red flag, but you do need to do some due diligence.
Yeah, I mean, there was an example of a Canadian developer that's been around for 50 years, and the quality projects, commercial projects. They got to Tulum, and they thought everything was going to be easy for them because they already have all this experience, 50 years plus experience. But Mexico, Quintana Roo, it's different. It's not the same. You have, first of all, you have the soil, right? In the environmental conditions, the high humidity, and the type of soil that you're building on. It's different. The way you build here is different than the way you build probably in Cabo or other parts of the world. And if you don't have experience with that, then there can be some growing pains, right? So you may have a lot of experience in Monterrey, but you don't have any experience here. So you have to get experience here. If the developer has built a few projects in your area already, or at least one, and you can walk into it and see it, and it came out good, and then I would feel a lot more comfortable about it. But if they're like, yeah, we're new to the area, this is the first time, this and that, I mean, it could be everything could be fine, but what I've seen in the past is that like they underestimate how easy it's going to be. They think it's like going to be just like back home, and then they end up having issues. Things don't get finished the right way. They have to go back and finish it again. They have to do, they're not used to dealing with the workers from here. Maybe different parts of Mexico, there's more skilled laborers. So you got to be on top of guys here. Like they don't make a lot of money. These guys aren't educated, most of them. And so they're not very skilled. It's different, right? You're dealing with people that they might have to do a certain job 5 or 6 times before they get it right. And I've seen this happen before. So that costs them money, at the end of the day. And that's an important factor. The climate, the area, the soil, the local politics. If you're a new guy
Yeah.
and you don't know anybody at the municipal office, you have no connections, you want to get permits, you want to get expedited permits, you're going to have to pay more, probably than someone that has some connections already. You know what I mean? So all these things can cut into their bottom line. And at the end of the day, hopefully it's just them making less money. But if it's a situation where they are a developer without deep pockets or without good funding, it could be disastrous. They could end up with a project that never gets finished, or something that's of inferior quality than what they originally promised. So those are
Yeah.
the experience that they have is very important.
Experience is something that I want to talk about, especially I know you know the Tulum market very well. If somebody's reaching out about a project, and let's say these guys have done like 5 projects in Tulum, if they're doing a 6th one, I think that's less risk than somebody who's doing their first project, right? But how do you go about like vetting that out? Because I know there's over 400 projects there. So if somebody comes to you and it's, like kind of like the startup, are you basically like, hey, let's kind of throttle back on this, or let's look at this one, or can you give some sort of example with that in Tulum?
Yeah, I mean, listen, first of all, I don't advertise things on my website unless I know for sure it's legit, because I'm in it for the long haul. And I know a positive customer experience for me is going to lead to better business. I can sleep better at night. I don't have to worry about people, getting screwed over. So I don't advertise them. Sometimes people will send me a link. Hey, what's this? And I'll give them the information and tell them about it. And then I'll say, listen, we need to do due diligence on this property and this developer. We need to find out what their experience is. How long have they been in business? You can look at their acta constitutiva, articles of corporation. Articles, what is it called? Acta constitutiva. I'll get to practice my Spanish a little. But yeah, how long have they been in business? Have they, sometimes you look at their documents and the corporation was created like a few months ago.
Yeah, no, I've
Wait,
seen
wait a
some
second,
stuff.
who are these guys? And that's fine. Who are the main players? Show me some documents of some projects that they've done in the past.
Exactly.
Because
There's a
sometimes
guy
it's
in
different partnerships. You know what I mean? Like
there's a
different.
guy in Cabo, and he's done a couple projects. He's no longer building in Cabo. You can take a wild guess why. But this guy had like three different companies, right? And these projects and the money was going in between three different companies, and it got, it was like kind of trying to unwind some yarn at the end. It was just like it got messy, and it didn't end well for a lot of people. Um, and to be honest, I hate to say this, but sometimes that's good for the industry because then people realize that like, hey, this is a serious thing. We need to get rid of people that are doing things like this. And like that guy cannot get on the MLS, right? And I know he was reaching out to other people. They're like, man, I can't do anything with you. Your name is tainted for good reason, right? Um, but having the ability to kind of blackball people like that or just know that agents aren't going to bring them, once again, kind of all circles back. Eduardo Tapia is an attorney that I work with here. And Dave, you know this, it all circles back to who is representing you. So that would be like in Cabo, that would be me. In the Riviera Maya, that's going to be you. And it's like, hey, at the end of the day, you're placing trust into somebody like this. Because like you said, if you're sitting in Chicago, you're sitting in Toronto, and you're trying to vet out somebody because you've got experience in that particular market. Just like you said, you got guys that got 50 years experience building in Canada and then come down to Tulum, and next thing you know, they're getting caught with their pants down. It doesn't work like that. You need somebody who knows, who's seen stuff go wrong, who knows what can happen. And then that's really one of the biggest ways that you can protect yourself. And then, for example, with myself, while I do know all this stuff, I'm still going to have a licensed, experienced real estate attorney look over all the paperwork to see, like you just said, exactly that these developers actually own the land, that it's not just some farce, right? And a lot of times when you get to the point, it's like you're working with a developer with experience. That's not really the issue, but you're still going through those motions anyway.
Yeah, I mean, you can't trust marketing material to tell you if this project's going to be good or not. There was one project that they were building where a bunch of guys were partnering up that had worked for different developers, and they've made money and now they're starting to do their own developing. But on their resume that they were showing to everyone was like, we built all these projects. I'm like, dude, it's like 100 projects. Like, no one's ever heard of you. You're a new company, but you built 100 projects. So I sent the resume to a few of the developers that they put on. They're like, hey, are you involved in this? They're like, hell no, we don't know who those guys are. So they can create a little resume. They can make everything look amazing on paper. But at the end of the day, if the legal documents aren't in order, then don't buy there. Simple as that, right? Like,
Yeah, and
or set up the
that's like being
contract where you don't pay right away. You pay once certain things are going to happen.
exactly. That's like being in the shipping department in Amazon and being like, yeah, I work for Jeff Bezos. It's like, well, to be honest, you're taking a little bit more credit than what was actually happened. Yeah, you might have worked for a developer that had done all that stuff, but that doesn't mean that you were privy or saw any of the hard work and the understanding that goes into doing a development.
So you mentioned Eduardo too. I mean, Eduardo is an expert in your area, but Quintana Roo has a whole different set of laws and stuff. I mean, it's different. You need a specialist in the area that you're trying to do business in. It's like a lawyer, a litigation lawyer is not going to, corporate litigation lawyer is going to hire a divorce lawyer. They're not going to try to represent themselves, right? Like they're specialists at certain things, and you want to work with those people. That's the best way to minimize your risk. The legal, system in the United States has nothing to do with Mexico. It's completely different. So, and that's the thing. I think people sometimes get a little ego, like they feel like, well, I have a lot of experience. I have clients that, they might have bought and sold 100 properties. They might have developed in the United States. And they think that because they did all that, that they know, but they don't. You have to hire a lawyer and you have to have an experienced agent to help guide you, to keep you away from problems. There's no other way around it.
Getting back to, I know you were talking about land, and I've seen a project where it was a JV. And I don't think there's anything wrong with this project, right? But you would say if the developer in fact owns the land, has the construction company least amount of, and has a track record, least amount of risk.
Yeah, listen, the lowest risk is reputable developer with a lot of experience building in the area that you're purchasing in. They own the land themselves and they build. They have a construction company too. They're all in one. That's the least risk that you can get involved in. But if it's, the developer doesn't own the land and he's doing a deal with the landowner and he doesn't have a construction company, and this developer never built in the Riviera Maya before, never had a project, this is where things can go wrong real quick, so that is the highest risk, is with someone like, with an experience. And it's not like people are trying to do anything predatory or anything like that. It's not like they have all the best intentions. But things can happen, you know what I mean? And that can end up being a bad situation for some people. And then, of course, there are shady people out there that will do things that are illegal or wrong, like commingling of funds. There's a project, and there's probably multiple projects in the history of building in Mexico, where they'll have one company instead of multiple companies for each individual project. So another red flag is there's a company building 5 different projects simultaneously. And they don't have individual corporations for each project. They're all under the same name. So it's essentially like, XYZ phase 1, XYZ phase 2, phase 3, phase 4.
Yep.
Not phase 1, 2, 3, and 4. They're different projects altogether. And they're not being upfront about that. So if they run out of money on phase 1, building 1, that first building, then they start using the money from building 2's people. And then at the end, phase 3 and phase 4, there's high risk for those people. They might not ever get a project finished if these guys screw up somehow. They don't plan to screw up. Nobody plans to mess up. Everyone plans on, I'm going to have all these projects and everything's going to go great. They're looking at the best case scenario, right?
Robbing Peter to pay Paul. I've heard exactly what you're talking about. And I've seen it where that particular situation has caused a delay of like 2 years in a project because they were doing multiple things and they kind of were using money to do different things. Another thing that
that they did build it, like that they figured out a way to fix it. They got the money, they finished the projects.
Yeah.
In the end, those people are lucky.
Yeah. There was so La Paz is the capital of Baja California Sur. And you're starting, Cabo's the hot area, but you're starting to see other areas in Baja get a little bit more attention. The mayor of La Paz actually came out and said the other day, like, do not buy in this development. And this development's probably, I drove by it the other day. It's probably like at least 50 or 60% complete, but they didn't get any permit to get hooked up with like city water, like, anything like that. And she's like, they haven't applied for like these permits. So like, I just want to let you know, if you buy there, you might end up having something that's like built out, but you have, like, I'm telling you right now that we have no plans in the immediate future to get any municipal services out to that piece of property. Have you seen anything like that in Tulum?
I've seen or heard of developers building without certain permits and just saying, screw it, I don't care. We're just going to do it. Suffer the consequences. They don't even know what the consequences are. They're just building. Okay. We don't know what's going to happen with those situations. Like, okay, well, you know, it's something that we haven't seen before. So am I recommending people to buy that stuff? No, because who knows? Maybe the developer's gone after a year after construction. They still don't have the permit, and guess comes knocking on the door. Hey, the government, you guys don't have a permit. You need to. This is going to cost I don't know, thousands of dollars. So now you have a special assessment, and you and the other owners have to pay it or suffer whatever the consequences may be. Which, I mean, I don't even know. I mean, you could ask Eduardo that question, like, what would happen? What could happen? What is the authority of
Oh,
the
and I
government?
already know what Eduardo would say. It's be like, Fletcher, you go see the heart doctor before you have the heart attack, right? He's like, unfortunately, my job is cleaning up messes. He goes, I would love if people came to me proactively before these situations got to that point. So he always says that, I'm like, man, because litigation here can be a nightmare. It's very time consuming. It's expensive. There was this guy who was building, it's actually a celebrity was building and he got screwed over. And he went to Eduardo and he's like, Eduardo, I don't care what it costs. Just hit these guys, just hit them. And
See,
Eduardo was
that's
like,
not how
look,
it
he was
works
like,
here,
look,
though.
he goes, look, man, if you want me to go that route, I will. But I'm telling you right now, don't do it because the only person who's going to win is me. You're just going to pay my fees. These guys, he's like, look, this was an expensive lesson for you. We can do this, but this is not like the United States here. So
No,
the best course of action is like to not let this happen again and let me review the contract with the next construction. And he did not want to hear that. Like he wanted it, vengeance, and it's a different system. So you want to avoid that 100% altogether, which is why vetting the developer upfront, having an agent that knows that is the most important thing.
correct. It's your money. You're signing a contract. No one else is responsible except for you for what you invest in. You and I will advise you. The lawyer will advise you, but you have to sign on the dotted line and you have to send the money. So if you don't read your contract and you don't understand what you're putting your money into, that's on you. You don't get mad at other people when things go wrong. You know what I mean? Like, this isn't the United States. You're not going to sue and win in like 2 years and get your money back. It could take years and years and years and years and years, and nothing ever happens. And you just spent money and you just wasted money.
Yeah, which is why I
But
just
satisfy your
avoid the
ego.
situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going
Avo-
to, ego, you throw that out the window. Just be smart, use your head, do things the right way. You'll have good experiences, But yeah,
Nice.
you're absolutely right. Be prepared beforehand.
Yep. Well, Dave, that's all I got for today. You want to add anything else? Obviously letting people know how to get in touch with you, but got anything you want to
Yeah, I
add?
mean, listen, right now I'm having a lot of challenges with resale properties because of the no MLS situation, because there's 400 developments in Tulum, for example. It's not so much an issue in Playa, although resale properties are selling very well there. But my job is going to be to educate the masses, even the real estate agents more so than anything, is that, hey, resales are way lower risk than pre-sale. Unless you're buying pre-sale the right way, it can be very risky. But at the end of the day, if you don't have a threshold of risk or a high tolerance for risk, or if you have zero tolerance for risk, then buy something that's already completed. You can see it. It has the furniture there. You can see the color, the tile, everything is there. What you see is what you get.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. Now I get it. It's easier to get someone to put 30% down and get paid a commission 2 weeks later when they sign the contract and send the money. So I know why salespeople in the Riviera Maya are trying to sell pre-sale versus already built properties. But at the end of the day, if you want to have a good relationship with your client, you can get 5 or 10 deals out of one relationship. Why risk everything on some project that might never get built, a risky pre-sale project? Keep your clients away from that. and go with and decide what is your tolerance for risk. If you have zero tolerance, then you can't buy pre-sale. If you're okay and you're educated and you think it's going to be a good project by a reputable developer with lots of experience in that area, then yeah, I would say go for it. But you have to understand what are your options, and make sure you're working with someone that's going to do right by you, not just try to fill their pockets. So that's all I would
Nice.
say. And you can reach me at Best Deal Mexico, Dave at Best Deal Mexico. Getting a YouTube page. I already have a YouTube page up. It's Best Deal Mexico as well. So I'm putting some of our videos up there that we've done together, and I got a lot of like little property tours, and I'll be doing more stuff like that. So I appreciate you having me on here.
Yeah, no,
Thank
Dave,
you
this
so
is
much. It's
this is
always a
just the
pleasure.
starting to get a little series going, man. It's good to contact with somebody in another area of Mexico, especially a hot area that's getting a lot of construction. But thank you for the time. That's Dave at bestdealmexico.com. We're going to keep it at that. So everybody have a good day. Dave, thank you for your time.
All right, Fletcher, have a great weekend. Thank you.
You too.